I trust you're all doing well. Thank you so much for being here at the TIP conference for 2021. Sorry, 2024. Apologies. If you can hear me loud and clear, please let me know in the comment section. And if you could see me as well, let me know in the comment section. Alrighty. So I'm trying to work out my frame. Okay, great. So I can see the feedback in the comment section. Alrighty, let us roll. I am excited to be here today. You know, it's one thing to be behind the scene, but the opportunity and the privilege to come out here to share from my wealth of knowledge, I hold it dear to my heart. And I would like to say a very huge thank you to my boss, our lead coach, Wendy Ologe, for this opportunity. Coach, my heart blesses you. Thank you so much, Ma, for this opportunity. I can't thank you enough. And of course, to every other I can see in the comment section, thank you so much for your support. Today, let us dive right into the conversation, which is how you should boost your child's cognitive and academic prowess. Now, if there is anything that we've heard in this conference, if we are to summarize and sum up everything we've heard in this conference, it is the very fact that skilling up a child goes hand in hand with raising kings. We cannot have the conversation of raising kings without talking about skills that enables a child thrive. I can say that an unskilled child, or rather an unskilled king, is a disaster waiting to happen. So while curating the conference, one thing the Academy has done is to ensure that step upon step upon step upon step, we are given skills that will indeed enable us raise kings. And of course, amongst the tons of skills you have learned, I am coming to top up on another skill that can change your child's life as a king. And that is their cognitive skills. Now, before I even move to the conversation around cognitive skills and academic skills, I would like to give an instance that I kind of thought of from the Bible when it has to do with raising kings. You see, I remember the story of Gideon in the book of Judges, where he gathered 32,000 soldiers. And God kept asking him to cut these guys until they went down to just 300. What do you think took these guys from 30,000 people to 10,000 people to 300? It is the skills. Gideon had to look at how their fear, their courage, their preparedness. What would put your child at the top of the chart from the millions of children out there to the little that are going to be on the top echelon, being kings, sitting at the table with the kings and raising kings themselves? They are the skills that we will put in them. So coach would always tell us in the academy, because of course I'm going to refer to my boss 1,000,001 times, so you better get used to it. Now, coach will always tell us in the academy that skill is the foundation. Skill-based parenting is the foundation. So if you're going to look at your parenting from the angle, I'm going to move to cognition now because I'm just building up. If you're going to look at your parenting from the angle of skills at every point, my child is not learning. There's a skill they need to have, and there is a skill they are missing. If your child has a learning difficulty, there is a skill that is missing. If my child has come back with a report that I do not like or doesn't align with the goals I have set at the beginning of the year, instead of thinking they didn't do this, they didn't do that, I want you to think in the basis of there is a skill that is missing. The moment we fill up that gap, oh my God, you are on your way to raising kings. And of course, we can't talk about raising kings without cognitive abilities. I would like you to note that when I say cognitive abilities, I am not just talking about academic prowess. It was coach that reorientated my mind. Because, of course, as an educator, I used to think that just when a child has A's and B's, it was in 2021, TIP Summit Lagos, that coach just changed my mind. And I began to see from a different light that a child could actually have all A's and not be a king. So, is academics important? Yes, it is. Do we advocate that our children do their best and top the chart? Yes. But straight A's doesn't equate to the fact that we're raising kings. There are other skills that also would enable your child. And cognition is also one of them. Now, cognition is simply a cognitive development which involves the mental processes that helps a child gain knowledge and understand. This would involve attention, memory, reasoning, decision-making, problem-solving, self-regulation, impulse control. All of these are also skills. Oftentimes, when we think about cognitive skills, we limit it to memory. The teacher taught, they remembered. Retention and recall. But it's actually more than that. It's actually more than that. There are other skills. You can have a child who has a very strong recall, but can't critically think. So it is garbage in, garbage out. It is garbage in, garbage out. So what are these mental processes that would enable? Number one, we're looking at problem solving. We're looking at decision making. Kings must be able to make decisions. Very key. Number two is impulse control. Kings must be able to control their impulses. Number three is self-regulation. Kings must be able to regulate themselves. We're not just talking emotional regulation now. We're talking self-regulation, independence, responsibility. All of these can be wrapped around cognition. So the question right now I want you to be asking is, how do I do this? That is what I have come to share with you. Now, what is the importance of developing this impulse control? I just said impulse control. These cognitive skills for your child. Number one, it's of course the foundation of academic success. If we are improving our children's cognition and vis-a-vis executive functioning skills, you would typically find it naturally reflect in the academics. This is why coach would tell us in the academy that we do not need lesson teachers for our children. This is why she would say that. Why? Because the academy has created a system where cognitive skills are being developed day in, day out with every system. This is why we can brag and say we do not advocate or we do not need lesson teachers. All right? The next would be enhancing problem solving and critical thinking. There is no king who will reign that doesn't have the ability to solve problems at their fingertips. Decision making, independence, and self-motivation. Then we're going to look at leadership qualities. Skills like strategic thinking, effective communication will help your child with their leadership qualities. Which are, of course, these are the values that we expect, or rather, these are the characteristics that we were going to list if we're talking about kings. It would also build resilience and adaptability. This is where coach will talk about the adversity quotient. That in the 21st century, we are waiting hands and feet on children, and we are not raising children who are resilient, children who will weather storms. The next would be when we build our children's cognition through the steps that I'm going to be listing, we are also building lifelong learning. Of course, lifelong learning is not just in the school. I'll refer to coach again. We should say that a lot of us don't study and learn the moment we left school. Lifelong learning is not just restricted to the four walls of an academic setting. Lifelong learning is a major characteristic of any king. That is why if you step into a king's home today, you're typically going to see a library of books. Why? Kings are committed to learning. But if all we focus on is academic skills, it becomes a burden. It becomes a chore. And immediately they drop their pens and their papers. They are done with learning. They are done with learning. But if we build our children's cognition, what happens? We build lifelong learning. The next would be social and emotional skills, where we boost their empathy, their ability to communicate with people. So I hope I've been able to explain to you that cognition is not just academic prowess is not the entirety of cognition. There are tons of things that go around to raise a wholesome child who would raise kings, become the king, and sit at the table with kings. Now, how do I develop these cognitive skills? I know that's what you're asking. So if you're asking that question in your heart, let me see it in the comment section. Let me see it in the comment section. My time is ticking. How do I develop these cognitive skills that will enable my child become the king? If you want to know how you want to do this, let's see you in the comment section. Let me see you in the comment section. Thank you very much. I can see your feedback. Now, in developing your child's cognitive ability, I'm going to take it age by age by age. The reason is so that as you're living here today, you're going to run with something. So we don't just want you to get all of this knowledge, and at the end of the day, you're asking yourself, there's a fire emoji, but what do I do? So how do you develop your child's cognitive abilities beyond academics? Now, this will take me to breaking it down into age by age stage. The first stage would be the infancy to toddlerhood. The first stage will be infancy to toddlerhood. Now, a psychologist by the name of Jean Piaget also came up with another theory around cognitive development, which I'm going to just draw a little tip here and there to help us today. Now, he also calls this phase the sensory motor phase. And this is typically between the ages of 0 to 2, 0 to 3. Now, what happens at this phase? What happens at this phase of life? Number one, there is rapid brain growth and development. Now, between the ages of 1 to 5, 80% of your child's brain is formed. What does this mean? This means that between the ages of 1 to 5, or rather, let me put it this way, that the ages of 1 to 5 are almost the most important ages in developing your child's brain. Every child is born with all the neurons they're going to have, over 100 billion by neuroscientists. But something happens. You know, if these neurons just sit in the brain and wait for any parent to just wake up, when you wake up, it's your morning, like we'd say in my place. And when I wake up, I start developing my child's brain. Then it's going to be fantastic. But it doesn't happen like that. In the next phase, the brain begins to do something called pruning. So those neurons that are in the brain that fire together, that enables the child to do what they do and exhibit the character traits have the skills that we're trying to build, those neurons that fire together, at a point they will begin to prune. So last year, I taught you guys the concept of neurosculptors. The fact that every child that is born tabula rasa, and we have the responsibility of actually sitting still to sculpt every neuron in their brain based on the experiences and the environment that we expose our children to. So if you're a parent here with children between the ages of 0 to 5, come forward. If you have older children, just move forward. I'll call you back later. If you have any child between the ages of 0 to 5, come forward. If there's anything coach would always say, it is that if you have young children, you are of all men blessed, because you are at the active stage that you could actually begin to sculpt your child's neurons in the way you want it to be. There is something that I wrote in my notes here. I said at the point of, you know how we do the race, on your marks, set, go. The point of conception is when we do on your marks. The point of the pregnancy is where we get ready. The point of birth, the moment you have your child, the clock starts ticking. The clock starts ticking. A lot of what frustrates tons of parents is that they want to just jump up at any time and easily build skills in their children. So you see parents who are frustrated, you're trying to build skills into a 15-year-old, and of course there's a resilience, is that the word? There is a, at the end of the child. Why? You're trying to form a child who is already formed. So the clock is ticking for you at every second of time, particularly if your child is in their formative years. In their formative years, their ability to learn is faster. This is why the first 5 years of your child's life is not something you play with. I came in contact with the Intentional Parent Academy in 2020. In 2020, my daughter was being suspected to have had mosaic Down syndrome because she had an array of developmental delays. She had what we call global developmental delays. So it was at the point of that diagnosis that I just came in contact with Coach Wendy and I started following. On Thursday, we had our graduation at Learnville. And my child, who up until 3 couldn't do so much, down to communication, stepped up the stage with so much confidence, read her valedictory speech. As I stood there watching her, I had tears well up in my eyes. And I couldn't help but ask myself, what would have happened if I didn't meet Coach Wendy, who started screaming since the first time I met her? Limit screen, eliminate screen, limit screen, replace, limit, replace the formative years. As an educator, I don't know what I did in school to be honest. My 4 years with Coach Wendy is almost equated to the 4 years I spent in the university. The university was theoretical. Coming in contact with the TIP Academy was practical. I could see it. You see those theories that we learned, the sensory motor and all of the psychological theories I learned as an educator. TIP Academy brought it, made it make sense. I took the information and I ran. I ran with Coach Ute, run with a message. I took it and I ran. I told when I understood that there was a formative stage of life, I took that information and I ran. This is why I am telling you today that if you have a child between the ages of 1 to 5, of course we have neuroplasticity and any child can learn and anybody can learn at any time. But in my place, they would say that it simply means that you cannot learn to use your left hand at old age. Would you rather wait and you begin to fight and jump from one lesson teacher to another therapist? Or will you stand up and take the reins to form your child's brain? So when I teach, I'm not teaching based as an educator, like I said in my post. I'm teaching based on Coach Wendy has changed my daughter's life. She has helped me. She has saved my life. I would have been, if I didn't meet Coach, I'm emotional right now. I would have been jumping from one therapist, one this to the other. But all Coach just said was sit down, connect with your child, limit screen, build skills. When we were shy, we started looking for skills to build. When we couldn't communicate to the public, we built skills. Even the way I teach in school is based on skill. What skill is this child lacking? They can't pay attention. Oh, that's why they're not sitting still. What skill do they need to build that attention? At the point of conception is on your marks. The point of birth is set. The point of pregnancy is set. The moment you give birth to that child, your clock is continuously ticking. You know, it's counterintuitive for us to think that phase of your child's life when they are babies, or that phase of your child's life when they are just mumbling, or that phase of your child's life when they are, you know, they're not talking, they're not making sense, they're just crawling everywhere. And those are the formative stages. It's counterintuitive to think. You would think that the formative stages when they are 5, they are 6, they are 7, you can have conversations, you know, you can talk to them, you see you are a king. So we're going to build these skills. You would think that is when that these skills will be built. But though neuroscience teaches us otherwise, it is at the formative stage. Let me take this point to talk about what the academy does for you. Everything I teach you is bits and pieces, right? If you try to piece everything together, it could be a little bit overwhelming, trust me. But the academy has taken these principles, broken them down into a system. Sometimes you don't even intentionally know that you're building your child's cognitive skills. But what we do in the academy, day in, day out, connection tools, every single thing that is done is geared towards helping you build those cognitive skills. All right, so I know you're asking now, oh, Coach Precious, I am fired up. What do I do? I don't have somebody like this. What do I do? What do I do? I'm here to tell you what to do. I'm not speaking theoretically. I am speaking as someone who has run the race. I'm about having a 6-year-old. So our goal has stepped up, right? Our goal has stepped up. It's time we, I'm handing the reins to the next parents who are in the sensory motor phase. Number one thing to do is connection. Let me see us in the comment section. Connection. Connection. When I was preparing for last year's conference, I came across this research that showed about thousands of children who were, who were monitored with an MRI machine, or one of those machines, really, I don't know the particular one. And the children who had connection with their parents, the children who were fond of their parents, were they could see more synaptic connections in their brain than those who didn't have that connection. Probably children who were growing up in a setting where they don't have their parents present, or children who had who were growing up in an animalistic an environment with animosity. Right? There was a difference. So connection is key in this stage. This is why at the academy we have daily connection tools, right? You heard Mr. Matthew Ume, Coach Etima's husband, talk about the things that he does with the children, the paintings, the colorings, and all of that. These are things that have been, so you don't have to think, oh, how do I connect? Oh, how do I connect? No. The academy breaks it down for you in bits and pieces. You have documents every month. If you're not in the academy, let me tell you, you will do all sorts. You will dance. You will act. You will tell stories. You will sing karaoke. You will paint. Please, let's have what we do in the academy. You will have cookouts. You will do all sorts. All of these things come together in developing your child's cognitive abilities. So we've talked about connection, very key. Number two, create a stimulating environment. Coach Omolola Okeowo on Monday did an amazing job talking about screen time, its effects and replacement. She did an amazing job, But permit me to add that one of the other reasons that research has found that we clamor for parents to reduce screen time is because in the brain, what you repeatedly do, the neural pathways are strengthened. It could be because of nature. It could be nature's wirings. It could also be nurture. So if you consistently nurture your child to sit in front of a screen, their visual pathway will be strengthened. And what happens when they are not in visually overstimulated environment? What happens in those cases? That child is practically unable to thrive. That child is practically, why? Because their brain have been wired. Every skill that a person has can be found in pathways, neural connections that create synaptic connections that create pathways. So the visual, the speaking, the maths, the logical, there are pathways that are strengthened upon repeated use. Right? Now, what happens when we just sit still and we just allow a child to sit on the screen? We strengthen their visual pathway. Their auditory and kinesthetic becomes weakened. At a point, they lose it. So that is why these children are very, those children who have heightened, visual pathways, this is why they are very antagonistic. This is why they are they're not able to pay attention. This is why they are very hyperactive. Why? Because they don't have that visual feeding them at all times. So in creating a stimulating environment at this age, if you can, limit to the barest minimum. Of course, we're saying limit from age 0 to 2. We're saying limit from 2 to 3. Remove from 0 to 2. I know you're asking, so what do I do if I limit? Of course, Coach Omolola has done a fantastic job. So I'll just, tip in here and there. Number one, you provide other visual and stimulating materials, but not screen. So we're talking toys, picture books, books with tactile feelings. We're looking at sensory play. Offer toys with textures, sounds, shapes. Create a home environment where your child can easily, explore around the home. Wooden cups, plastic containers, just the child. I have a bottle here. Just the child doing this. That's your toddler doing this. It's not just developing their cognition, it's also developing their fine motor skills. Just the toddler doing this. Just the toddler doing this. So, I don't have all the fun. That's not an excuse. There are safe items in your home, household items in your home. Just your child taking up stones, of course, supervised, and feeling this develops other skills. So I don't have the font. It's not an excuse. I am the queen of improvising. When my baby was a toddler, I was the queen of improvising. I improvise. I Google, I see things, Montessori materials I didn't have at the time. I'll come back, improvise with the materials I had at home, household materials. The next would be encourage exploration and discovery. And of course, we can't do this if we don't baby-proof our homes. When Emmanuel Ogabiji was speaking, amazing session, by the way, someone was talking about where coach said that we should, if you have a toddler, you can't have a glass center table in your home. Sometimes you can't even have a center table at all. If you truly want that child to explore their environment, if you truly want that child to do what? Explore their environment, Give them the space to reach, to grasp, to manipulate. The next is outdoor time. Coach, I remember listening to the governor in one of his sessions, and he mentioned that when the twins were younger, they had an area that had sand where the kids would play with sand and all. And even coach has taken the time to explain the amazing skills that your toddlers will gain just by exploring with sand. You didn't pay to use sand, though. Sand is everywhere. So, are toys important? Yes. Are toys important? Everybody type yes. But toys cannot be the reason why your child is not exploring. Because I know I have thousands of parents who will watch this from different walks of life in different social stratas, and somebody saying, I cannot get. Of course, coach is going to go a different way and tell that there's no excuse, really. But nature has provided materials that your child can use. All a parent needs to do is to put on their thinking cap and you are good. Toys are essential. Toys are important, but non-availability of toys is not restricting. Thank you, Ugonwa. Intentional parents are thinking parents. Think, look around and think. Now we move to support independent learning. Still around what we're saying. Sometimes just make sure that the environment is safe. And I'll give them open, we have what we call open-ended toys. Toys that do not have a specific structure to the way they work. Just hand them over to your, I keep having these bottles here. Excuse me. Hand them over to your child and just leave them. You don't know how creative that child would be. Here we can, just by doing these things, we can support independent learning and creativity. That is why we say, make sure they are safe. Someone is saying sometimes they will eat it. If a child eats this, I don't think there's much of a problem because there's nothing they are talking, there's nothing they are chewing and all of that. But of course, in cases where they would need to eat something, please ensure that you are there. Right? So when we talk about leave the child, doesn't mean that there's no, if they are in the age where they need to be actively supervised, it doesn't mean that you're not going to supervise the child. Of course, right? Then next would be make learning fun and make learning spontaneous. Make learning fun and make learning spontaneous. One thing that I did when my daughter was younger was to make learning spontaneous, right? We learned at every point while taking walks. My daughter had issues with spatial awareness and identifying colors for a long time. And one thing that helped us was basically exploring outdoor. We learned the color red and the color green on our way to school. Someone said, but they make noise with the plastic. I'm not going to answer that question, but they make noise with the plastic. They will make noise with the plastic. I don't want to be sarcastic. Please get into the academy. Parenting is in the noise. Parenting is in the mess. What if they are already overstimulated by screen and have delays? Okay, let's leave this for the question. Let me leave the comment section, please. I'll have to let's leave it for question section, please. So let's keep our questions to the end of the session, okay? Then we move to make learning spontaneous, make it fun, make it relevant, make it interactive. Games like Peekaboo, amazing game for your less than 1 year old. It helps them begin to identify. It helps heighten their attention. It helps retention. Very little game like Peekaboo does the work. Really, rhymes, auditory rhymes, not Coco Melon. Auditory rhymes, not Miss Rachel, until they are 2. Then, of course, we limit it. Bath time, meal time are learning opportunities. I once came up with a resource of, I think, about 60 ways you can teach a child math by just exploring their everyday life. We can teach parts of the body while we're having our bath. We can teach the count when we're having our cereal. There are tons of things you could do to make learning fun and relevant. Let's remember why we're doing this. All of these things we're mentioning contribute to the earlier skill, which is their cognitive development. The next would now be the phase. We've just finished from infanthood to toddlerhood, which is the sensory motor phase by Jean Piaget. Now we're going to look at the early childhood. The early childhood is the pre-operational phase, which is between the ages of 3 to 7. At this point, we're still in the formative years, but your child is beginning to develop the ability to remember, communicate, focus. At this phase, the emergence of language happens. But at this phase, something also happens which is very significant in the brain of your child. What is that? It is called pruning. You see those neurons I told you, the neurons that fire together, work together, create synaptic connections that help children gain skills. All of that good stuff, they won't always be there. At a point, the brain is going to do something called pruning. And what is this pruning? Pruning is where the brain begins to eliminate the neurons, the excess neurons that have not formed synaptic connections. The brain does this to enable those synaptic, neural pathways to be strengthened. This happens between the ages of 7 to 10. Is it a bad thing? No. Can a child still learn? Yes. Of course, there's the concept of neuroplasticity. But the effort it would take you to develop some specific skills between the ages of 1 to 6, 1 to 5, would be easier than it would take you if you're developing those same skills if you had a child who was 10 and 11. Can we still teach? Yes. Can we still teach? Yes. Can we still teach? Yes. So you don't misunderstand me. But it would be easier. Why do you want to, so when you could just slide through a thing in the formative years? The next would be, what can I do in the early childhood phase? Number one, please write it in the comment section. Play, play, play. Of course, what we've talked about earlier was play, but between the ages of 0 to 2, a lot of their play would be sensory activities, open-ended activities. But from the ages of 3 to 7, this is where gross motor activities come in. Gross motor play. Now, gross motor play are play that has to do with the large muscles of the body. Running, jumping, skipping, flying, somersaulting, I wanted to say break a leg, but you get what I mean, right? This is where these things now come in. Science has found that when children are involved in gross, if you listen to Emmanuel Ogaibidi, he mentioned that if while choosing a school for your child, you also look at space where a child can express and play. This is because when children are involved in gross motor play that has to do with the large muscles, something happens. And what is that? The brain releases a hormone called BDNF. Now, that hormone helps with synaptic connections in the brain. So, play is not just play. Play has more advantages. So, at this age, we're talking gross motor play, we're talking creating a stimulating environment where we're providing books, art supplies, building blocks. This is why we have a lot of vendors. Let me plug in our vendors here. We have a lot of vendors who are sponsors of this amazing conference. We are running because of vendors like this. We have Reddit signatures. We have a number of these vendors. One of them played at the beginning of this session, who have amazing resources for your child. I was saying to my husband the other day that I need to stock up for the holiday because I've been busy with the conference and of course with school, so that we get involved with this open-ended play. Building block, art supplies, painting. Coach Otima talked about that we color in the academy. Yes, adult, this we color. Last week I was coloring and I got carried away. And my daughter started crying that I didn't allow her color. I was like, Jesus, there is a child. Apologies. I got so carried away. You were supposed to color some particular, it was color by numbers. So I was supposed to do red. And I left my purple and I came to her block and she started throwing tantrums. So yes, these are materials, cognition. At the end of the day, they develop cognition. Learning stations, set up learning stations for your children, reading, art, constructions. These things are important. The next would be encourage exploration and discovery. In the sensory motor phase, your toddlers might not really explore as is needed, right? The exploration might just be playing, banging, which is part of it. But right now, when you have children between the ages of 3 to 7, their exploration becomes intentional. That is where I will keep referring to Mr. Emmanuel's session, where he talked about children now pick up remotes and they start losing the remote, like the one my daughter did to me and broke my ring light. And of course, I was in the academy and I couldn't because I was the one that kept it away and, and all of that good stuff. So, oh God, I cried, but we move. We move. There's something that the academy does to me. I saw that ring light. She was trying to do how does this thing flip? How does this thing flip? And mistakenly she broke it. But because being in the academy, it hurt, cost a lot of money to get this stuff. But being in the academy, I began to look, okay, what skill was she was exploring? She was bringing out her exploitative skills, and we moved over it. So exploring when you don't want them to spoil, don't give them. Child-proof your home. When they break it, you now beat the child. We don't do that in the academy. Children will explore. I have one child who is here, who is very, my school, who is very explorative. They would move everywhere. I had to begin to child-proof the classes a lot, his class particularly, a lot more. And, the teachers want to stay back heavily. I was like, no, please leave him. You would move here, do this, do that. Those are skills that develop cognition in your child. Exploration, hands-on activities. So this holiday, you're already creating a system. There's the holiday plan. Have you gotten the holiday plan? What are you doing on Monday? What are you doing on Tuesday? What activity is your child going to do? What science experiment are you going to begin to expose the child to? What field trips are you taking? These are things that enable exploration in your child. At this phase, we are also supporting independent learning. So the child has learned to read. There's going to be a reading time. You sit, you read, you come back, you tell mommy what you read. Independence. These are the points where we now begin to develop independent skills in our child. At this phase, we also make learning fun and relevant. So we take math, you go back. We're going to go back to how to build academic progress. But let me just tap on this. Go back to your child's report. Identify, I don't know how the child's might have spent their report, particularly in the early years, but we give detailed report of the child's achievement and we tell you where the child hasn't achieved. So you can take back these achievements and coin it to play. I've already identified that my daughter is the reading champion in her class. She's strong in literacy. Her numeracy, she's good, but she hasn't gotten to. So there's a skill lagging behind. So the plan for this holiday is to take it and through exploration and experiential learning, we cover up those skills that are lacking. So make learning fun and relevant. And of course, play. Then the last phase for the people like I work with would be 7 to 12. This is middle childhood. At this place, you're going to see your child's logical communication, reasoning skills are increased. Their ability to sustain attention and focus is increased as well. At this phase, they begin to gain a lot of knowledge. Their knowledge about their world is expanded, whether it is through formal learning and education. So what do you do at this phase? One thing you're going to do at this phase would be to expose them to knowledge. This is where mentorship comes in. This is where masterminds come in. This is where you're beginning to step down from your level of influence, exposing them to camps, getting them to have higher knowledge beyond what we typically give. This is where we now, in the academy, we watch movies and we summarize those movies. We read documentaries. Why? We're trying to expand their knowledge and understanding of the world. If you do this, if you notice, in all of this, there's no place lesson teacher came in. There was no, I didn't call lesson teacher. Shout out to lesson teachers. As an educator, I understand where you come in. You do a good job for some children in remedial learning. There's a place of remedial learning. So, of course, we're not negating that. At the same time, if you do this, what are the skills that we have built just by doing this? Let me read it out again. We've built core cognitive skills. We've built memory. We've built attention. We've built reasoning, evaluation. That is why a child is going to bring this. And I just have this. So, pardon me, I'm an early years teacher. You guys already know. So, that is why your child is going to bring this. And, they just pick it. Oh, there's a sound. They tear it off. It's critical thinking. They have to think, oh, what method? They would look at, there's a glue here, they will bring back the glue, they will place it back, they will remove it again, and all of that good stuff. You're also developing adaptability, decision making. Do I want this is where the Montessori system is very amazing. It naturally in itself fosters decision making, where the play toys and all of that. I'm not a Montessori person, but the play toys and all of that is placed, so the child has the choice of what they want to do. So go back to Mr. Emmanuel's session. There are tips that you can take back. So to give the toys, you don't always have to say, oh, we are doing building block today. No, a simple way of building your child's decision making is to place 5 toys before them. Which one do you want to do? The child looks at this, looks at this, looks at it. Last time I did this one, I fell down, so I'm not going to do it. This one, the color, I don't like the color. I want this. At that very little stage, they are building these skills. We've built self-learning, self-directed learning, motivation, because they see that when they piece the pieces of their building blocks, at the end of the day, it gives them something beautiful. It's the motivation to start and finish a task. Leadership qualities, strategic thinking, effective communication when they're doing it in the class, they're doing it with their friends, they're doing it with you, the parent. Before somebody says, I have an only child, I have to be the child. So I come down. The other day we fought because we were coloring together. So you have an only child, there is no problem. Be the child for that child. And they practice the leadership qualities, they lead you, you jump around, whether your daddy, you're 6 feet tall, you come down and do the work. I saw one reel some time ago of a dad who make costumes for the child, a very hefty father. Someone here must have said it. They have tea parties. Those are things that develop cognition and connection. Responsibility. After interacting with your toy, they piece it back together. After interacting with your toy, the kids piece it back together. I'm wrapping up, guys. I'm wrapping up. Resilience. When the pieces are not coming together, what my daughter would typically do would be to cry, when she was younger. But no, let's keep doing it. Especially what's it called? Shape sorters. Those shape sorters can be very, very tricky. Which shape to put the circle in the square peg? Square hole. I say, auntie, keep trying. Resilience in these very little, minute ways. We also have adaptability. We have curiosity. We have future readiness. We have empathy. We have communication. Mommy, I want this. Mommy, I want that. Mommy, I want X. Mommy, I want Y. And all of that good stuff. Now, let us wrap up this beautiful session we have so far with how you can begin to boost your child's academic skills this holiday. One thing I will tell you to do is to do an assessment of your child's report. Not just what is the average, what is the cumulative average, what was your total? No. The abilities. So, of course, your child's school must have had an open day where the teacher has told you, take back that feedback and look for live interactions where you can merge those lapses in. Like I've told you, for my daughter, it's numeracy and reading of her multisyllabic words. So what are we going to do in a fun, exciting way? I have taken back this feedback and I'm bringing it back to my parenting system. And then our holiday plan would be to play and explore, but channel it to building her numeracy skills a lot more. For us also, it's writing. We need to work on our legibility. That's also part of it as well. So she's going to, a very simple way that we could do that would be everything we need to write at the home now, she would write it, right? So let's say I'm also working on her spellings because she spells with her sounds. And with sounds, it could also be very dicey. So we need to expose her to a lot of words. So when we're going to the market, she now makes up the list. We have to write banana. She could miss the, okay, that's very easy. We need to buy crayfish. She could miss the A sound for AI instead of AY. Do you understand? From that, we're reinforcing it. These are very easy and simple things you can do. I don't have time. You are not here, I believe. You are not here. You are not part of us. I don't have time. You are not part of us. We move. The next is creative and applied learning. I just talked about it now. Creative and applied learning. What skills do I need to build? How can I apply it to my everyday life? Set a learning schedule, consistent learning schedule. We talked about routines, structure. Coach would always say that young children do not thrive in unpredictability. In the holiday bundle, there's a toddler schedule for you. Team, please share the details of the holiday bundle. Would really come in handy for you. Would also have experiments, holiday projects, exposures, challenges, games, toys, and all of that good stuff. Then, of course, set academic goals. Set academic goals. To continue this conversation, we're going to meet in the back to school masterclass coming up on the first week of September, hereabout. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll have your questions and let me know if you found the session valuable. Thank you, team. Thank you, everyone.
Wow, wow. Thank you very much, Coach Precious. Thank you for this session. Well, I can see my
Thank
partner
you so
is on
much,
stage.
Miss Precious. Thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Ma. This was pure fire. You gave it to us
Thank
hot.
you.
Thank you so much. It was so enlightening. Parents in the house, how do you feel? I believe you've learned so much, so many new things to learn. What stood out for you? Can you put that in the comment section? For me, one thing I must do is to ensure I have connection with my children. In short, that's the most important thing. Learn to build connection with your children. So we have a lot of work to do. If you have any questions for our coach, please do well to put it on the section. Put your questions in the comment section. And please remember this is brought to you free by the TIP Academy. So do well to follow our coach, Coach Precious, on her social media handles. The team will put it on, okay, it's already on our screen. Follow her, learn from her wealth of knowledge. So we'll go on a short break now. So our speaker can just have a water break. And when we come back, we'll continue with the questions. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, live from Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Mr. Sylvester Bokaji, and this is my beautiful wife.
I am Oluwagbemisola Akinlade Ogaji.
How did we join the inner circle, and why did we join the inner circle?
We joined the inner circle for the quest to parent better in this generation, as we are a blended family of 6 children, and in our quest to get it right with parenting our children the better way to make them wholesome children, we came in contact with the inner circle.
The point where we have noticed or known that inner circle or the parenting children, there's a manual to do that.
Oh yes, we did found the manual from the inner circle. It is from inner circle that we understood that the saying of remember the child of whom you are that is often being said to us by our parents in those days when we were being raised is actually has to be something written, and that is what we call our family value. We've been able to craft our family value, which is a working document in our home now. And so when we point to it, our children knows that yes, they can remember the child of whom we are as a family that we stand for.
What have we achieved so far in joining the inner circle since 1st of December 2022?
We have been able to achieve a whole lot. Is it from creating structure for our children,
Discipline,
routine,
yes.
disciplining the right way, and a whole lot of bonding and connections between our children all together.
And not forgetting that we are the number one agents in this parenting journey.
Oh,
It
yes.
all lies in us.
Parenting is about us, that we have come to understand. And in able to understand and do it diligently, you have to have time for your children. Hence the oath that you take when you come into the inner circle, that parenting is about me and I have time to parent my children. We practice essentialism in all that we do with our children.
So today we are advising parents, fathers, mothers, parents to be, young adults about getting married to join the inner circle in 2025.
Oh yes, the slot is available now. Book your slot today with 5,000 or as a couple 10,000 and get to pay your remaining balance before December 1st when the next cohort will sign in. Welcome to Inner Circle.
Thank you very much for listening to us.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Onyeka,
Thank you,
it's time for
Precious.
questions.
Thank you, Precious Ifekwe. So now we have it's time for questions. If you have any questions for our amazing Coach Precious, please go ahead and put them in the comment section. Thank you, Coach Precious. Thank you once again for this.
Thank you much. Thank you.
Okay, there's a question for you, Ma.
Yes,
Okay, let me just read it out. Please, Ma, how do I really connect with my special kids? Trying to give attention to them. It seems like time wasted. How do I really connect to help them?
Okay, please, if I could have that on the screen, it would enable me because I didn't hear you well. Please, can you say it again?
Okay. It says, how do I really connect with my special kids? Trying to give attention to them. It seems like time wasted. So how do I really connect to help them?
How
Okay,
do
it's
you
on the
really
screen right now.
help them? Thank you. If you're talking about your special kids, I'm trying to, as an educator, I'm already thinking, are we talking about special needs? If you're just talking about your kids in general, the antidote for, or rather, the formula for connection is intentional spending time with your children. And of course is going to talk about the fact that in connection, we're not just talking about the time spent, we're also talking about what you're doing within the time. So connection is not just sitting with your child and you're looking at the child and the child is looking at you. Connection is in the activities that build bonding, the activities that foster the love. So what you're asking is, what activities can I begin to do to connect with my child? Because a lot of parents are present, but their presence is not felt. Activity-based connection ensures that you're not just available, but you are also present. And the connection is in what you're doing, not just in empty slots of time. How do you do this? Between the both of us, sir, please join the academy. I'm not just saying it as a speaker. I'm saying it as one whose life has been revolutionized. We help you break down the connection to a day-to-day, minute-by-minute, second-by-second activity-based thing. So every day there is something to do. And before you know it, like Mr. Ume said in the review that played earlier, you have this bond with your children that is beyond I am a father, I am a mother. I hope I answered your question, sir. Can we have the next question, please?
Okay, thank you very much. Please do well to join the inner circle because this is just a tip of the iceberg. The next question is, my daughter is always being inquisitive and equally retaliate, especially at me and those that she can handle. What do you think can be done to curtail it? Because I really want her to sit with kings. Thanks. Did you
You
get
really
that,
want
Coach Pressure?
Let me attend
Yes,
to this
no.
question. Then hopefully the team pops that up because the voice is echoing a bit. I can't really hear. So, but let me work with the question on the screen. Then once I have that up, okay. My daughter is inquisitive and equally retaliates, especially at me and those that she can handle. What do you think? Now, when I see retaliate, I'm thinking aggression. She's easily aggressive to people. I want you to first think of modeling. So where is she seeing this? Who is she seeing this from? Who is doing this that she is modeling after? One thing our lead coach would always say is that children are imitators more than they are initiators. So they would always do rather than what you tell them to do. So look at the modeling source. Where's this child picking this aggression from? Then secondly, it could also be their temperament. If you have a child who is very extroverted, then that's one thing you always learn in the academy, understanding your child. If you have a child who is strong-willed and extroverted, they'll be very prone to getting very physically, whether they think it's retaliation or not, you would find that they are very physically expressive. So at that point, you're looking at the strengths and the weaknesses of that temperament and how to support that child. Then, of course, like I mentioned in the beginning, when there is a character gap, there is a skill missing. So could it be that there is a modeling of aggression that you need to begin to look at? Could it be that there is a skill that is lacking, emotional intelligence? The family setting hasn't promoted an environment where the child is able to understand and label their emotions. Could it be the academy? I'll return you back to the academy because some of these things I'm saying might be ambiguous, but the academy has created the system where you know to identify your emotions and on the end help your child identify, label, and navigate their own emotions. Because oftentimes aggression is from an emotion that they could they could translate to mean that I'm angry, so I beat. Do you understand? The academy is what you need. Thank you very much. Then I saw the third question: how do I build cognitive skills? I believe that what I thought might be so simple, too simple for you to comprehend, that these little things would build my child cognition. Yes, those little bit by bit, little details here and there, yes, they would build your child's cognition. I hope I answered that question as well. So if you didn't get it, I would advise you go back to the session and take it one step at a time. You will really gain clarity. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Okay,
Coach.
Coach.
Can you still take any more questions?
Yes, there
Yeah,
were
but
questions that came in. There were questions that came in before the comment section was being requested. Oluwatosin Ogumodede says, how do you go about it when you have to go to work and your only daughter, about to turn 4, is home and you don't want her to go for summer coaching? So what do you do?
create the structure. I don't have time is not a vocabulary we use in the academy. You own your life, you have your life, get back to your structure and your system and find a way to tweak it to aid your child. Where you can't help it at all, then of course you know the next thing to do. But we believe strongly that time is not just that your presence. Time is the value of what you're doing, even when you are there. Our lead coach will always give the example of stay-at-home parents who don't spend as much quality time with their children as parents who are fully working class parents spend. It is what you do with the time. So you could use a 1 hour more judiciously than the person who has 12 hours. It is in your structure, It is in your planning, and it's in the fact that we say to ourselves that I don't have time. It's not our vocabulary. You have your work, you have your child. You could make 1 hour look like 20 hours. It is in the vocabulary that coach will use, I'm trying to use. It is in the richness of the time. And it is in the quantity of the time and not it's in the quality of the time and not the quantity of the time. I hope I answered the question.
One more question, please. One more question, please, Coach Precious.
Yes,
I think this other one came earlier from Olapeju Pearls Ekudayo. She says, please, my child is 5 years, 7 months now, and she cannot read yet. Is she behind in the milestones he should have reached for his age? Like, is he behind in milestones he should have reached for his age?
We can't blame the child because a child reading is based off on the foundation that has been given to that child. So if a child, remember what I started by saying that whatever you see lapses, it's not the child. Parenting is about you and not your child. So wherever you see just lapses, interpret it as there are skills this child needs that is lacking. So if there are skills this child needs that is lacking, how do I fill it up? So we can't say, is he missing or she is not missing? No. But for parents who are here, there is a general rule of thumb, which is that a child should start reading basic CVCC words at least before their first speed falls. For some learners, they are a lot more advanced, right? But at the barest minimum, they should be able to do CVCC words before their first speed falls. So this is for you who have younger children. Go back and playfully build that foundation. For what to do to enable your child to read, I have a program called Teach Your Child to Read Course. Just send me a DM and I'll provide all the details to you. Thank you very much. We are done.
Thank you so much, Coach Precious. Thank you.
All right, so the yes, there's a follow-up session by 4 p.m. So please talk about that.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Coach Precious, for this session. This session was really given